what are some of the things going on in-house that
Sure.
you feel is going to be a major impact and influence in terms of how people look at mortgages, period, and how we look at this strategy, what it does beyond just accelerating debt? I know there's conversations where I've had with clients where it's like, hey, here's a guaranteed way that we can not only accelerate our debt, but get a guaranteed cash flow recovery. And this is how much interest you will save. And this is the results. And this is the timeline. And then I'll run another scenario with them. We'll say, well, here's what it would look like if we did not pay off your mortgage
Mm.
and only paid off your other consumer debts, left the mortgage alone at that 2, 3%, 4% rate, and took the same amount of time it would take you to pay off this mortgage to invest, say using accelerated banking or build a policy or two in the household, and then have the option to
Hmm.
pay off your home with a check in full in the same amount of time or relatively close that it would have taken you to just become debt free, right?
Hmm.
Wondering if you have those kinds of conversations. All right, so I'm gonna have that kind of off to the side there, and then you can touch on first kind of what's going on in the company with you, different things that you're rolling out, different
Hmm.
ways of providing this helpful education that clients are asking themselves, people watching, does it make sense for me to pay off this 2, 3, 4% mortgage? Or if I'm at a 6, 7, 8% mortgage, does it make sense for me to accelerate this compared to if I would have just invested in the S&P 500, right?
Hmm.
Like, I think these are genuine questions, and I'll let you chime in on, in this space that we're in, do you often see content creators like us, maybe more often than not, promoting paying off the mortgage before anything, paying off all your debt before doing anything else, which kind of like somewhat aligns with Dave Ramsey theory, right? Get all your debt
Right.
paid, right? So it kind of aligns with that in a way, and then transitions to investing, or invest first, right? Does it, how do you figure out that kind of person you're talking to? What characteristics do you typically like
Sure.
to see for that person to say, for you to feel confident, you know what, yeah, go do that, go take a bet, go take a
Yeah.
risk, right, to make that happen? So
Yeah.
that's kind of over
So
here, and then what's going on in your company.
right. So yeah. So what I'm hearing from you, obviously, is what's going on. Company, what's exciting, what's happening the next 6 months from us specifically, and then obviously talking about okay, how do you weigh the conversation about should you invest versus should you pay off your mortgage? I do have different thoughts about that, and then I think the other thing you mentioned was how do you deal with certain people with different propensities, right? Um, so the first thing I'll tackle is what we are doing. I mean, I can't share too much because certain things are quote
Little,
unquote,
little sneak peek, little,
even for me, right? It's classified, right? That we can't necessarily share until when it does happen. Otherwise, I'm going to get the scolding from my team. But but what I can't share, and this is something that I actually kind of been wanting to do for a while, and this is something that I actually even talked to Denzel about just briefly, is the idea of, and I don't care what we call it, it doesn't have to be this name, but something like an accelerated banking institute. It's an inter leadership. There's it's not about one company over other company. It's not that competition. It's not about that. It's about how do we set standards that are very clear in the industry that we're all kind of consistent in what we're saying. Because I do see content creators, and I'm not going to point out names. It's not the appropriate you know platform to do that. But I do see content creators, best of intentions. Yet I hear them talk about velocity banking, accelerator banking, and I'm like, oh no, I wouldn't have said that, or making absolute statements that obviously cannot be backed up or followed up, or things that velocity banking, accelerator banking just does not do or does not promise. There are things that are said that obviously will garner attention, but for the wrong reasons. So I had this vision of seeing something like an Accelerator Banking Institute or Velocity Banking Institute, Cash Flow Management Institute, whatever you want to call it, where individuals like myself, Denzel, and other practitioner content creators, those that genuinely are in the space of financial education, to come together and have healthy conversation, discourse, as well as, hey, what is actually working right now in the market? What is actually helping people? And what's hurting people that we could absolutely bring awareness to the consumers and the clients out there to stay away from. Because I think it's the inconsistency of messaging and what the consumers are hearing. It causes confusion.
Mhm.
And there's a good case study on this, and that's the credit repair industry. 20 years ago, when the rise of credit repair industry came about, the regulators didn't really care all that much. But it was not until 15 years ago or so where a lot of credit repair companies took advantage of clients, customers, got paid but didn't deliver services, promised to increase credit score when obviously there's no real mechanism to do that.
Correct.
Made all kinds of false advertising and false claims and misrepresentation, and that's when the regulators stepped in, to the point where in state of Georgia, credit repair organizations are illegal. Right? You
Oh
can't do
wow.
credit repair organizations. Yeah, and well, one can argue that it was Equifax that did that, but
Hmm.
because Equifax is in Georgia, right? So, right, it makes sense.
Hmm.
But there are, that's why the new rule, relatively newer, I should say, rule like the Credit Repair Organization Act came about, where it started to regulate organizations that do credit repair or do anything remotely close to credit repair, such as you can't prepay or you can't ask a client to pay upfront for a credit repair, right? It has to be done after the repair has been completed. You can't make any promises. They have to make disclosures that individuals, clients, consumers can do their own credit repair. They don't need to have a credit repair company, which is true, right? Those are all factual statements. And so it's just unnecessary things that came about, that if the credit repair companies would have acted in with ethics and moral, that didn't have to happen. It could have been a respectable industry. Now I can't say that. I can't say the same. I mean, there are a lot of crooked people in the credit repair organization
Yeah.
versus, and there are good people too. And part of my fear, and if I'm truth telling from my heart, is that the fear that I have, is that velocity banking and seller banking is kind of headed in the same direction. Is
Correct.
that if the wrong things are said, if false promises are made, if there are misrepresentation happening, then yeah, similar things are going to happen. Where yes, enough people are going to get hurt, and those people are going to cause the legislation to change, hopefully for the better, right? Obviously to clean up what's going on. Um, and so, yeah, we just, all of us have to be careful. We have to be ethical, moral. We have to do the right thing, even though, yes, it means that, who knows, it might be less client for some people out there, but we just got to be honest. And I stand by that. And
Yeah.
I actually, in a private text message, I told Denzel, "Hey, you're the guy. You should head this up because you're so passionate about this." And so, yeah, I think that is something that we would like to see happen.
Mhm.
Inter-organization come together. Let's talk about this beautiful thing, strategy, and we just want to standardize what's factual and what's not. So that is something that we would love to see come true, and to come to fruition in 2025 and beyond. So that's something that, my company, if we were asked to be part of that, yeah, heck yeah, we'll be more than happy to advocate for something like that.